My name is Amir Amirani. 8 years ago, I took part in a protest against the war that was being planned on Iraq. The date was 15th of February 2003. You might have been one of the millions of people that also took part on that day in nearly 800 cities all over the world. It only became clear afterwards what a really momentous and historic day that really was. The biggest protest in human history. For all the reasons that people came out on that day, I hope you'll agree that the story of that day and its legacy is worth telling. So please join us, help us in as little or as big a way as you can. Join us and make history again on film like we did that day. Thank you for watching.
February 15th was the single largest mobilization of people in the history of humanity, bar none.
It was the biggest demonstration coordinated in the history of the whole earth.
Well, I've never attended anything like that demonstration in my life anywhere, because there was no such demonstration before. It was tremendously moving to be there.
I'm a musician, so I've been to a lot of huge concerts and festivals and so on, but I have to say, nothing compares to the feeling of being on the streets of London on February the 15th, 2003.
All ages, all ethnicities, people from all over England. You know, that was one of the amazing things.
Nobody could predict the size and scale of what finally took place. It amazed the organizers everywhere.
I mean, usually demos on the left, you get a handful of people there and you're huddling together for warmth, whereas this was just extraordinary. It just went on and on.
The first global demonstration and its first cause is to prevent a war against Iraq.
The rallies of February 15th followed the sun. They started in the South Pacific. It was Australia and New Zealand, and then it was North Asia and South Asia, and then across Russia, across into Europe and down into Africa, and finally across the pond, first to Latin America, and then finally it came to New York. I don't know how many people spoke that day, huge numbers, but some of them had an incredible impact.
We stand here because our right to dissent and our right to be participants in a true democracy has been hijacked.
I remember the great activist actor, Danny Glover, who said, "We stand here on this threshold of history, and we say to the world,
not in our names, not in our names.
Not in our name." And I remember the crowd picked it up, and it was echoing.
The New York Times said that there were now two superpowers. One, of course, is the elites of the US and their military apparatus, and the other is ordinary people all around the world who oppose what they are attempting to do.
I thought that was a very shrewd comment to describe the global peace movement as a superpower, and it was true.
45 years ago, African Americans didn't have the right to vote. And we marched. 18-year-olds couldn't vote. We marched. And women couldn't serve on juries. We marched. And now we have an African American president. And we have a woman Speaker of the House.
February 15th was a huge victory. It created an entirely new kind of movement that had never before appeared. Yes, we failed in that battle to stop a war. That was an impossible battle. But we didn't fail at making it illegal. And it set the stage for movements to come.
I've certainly been very inspired by stories I've heard from pro-democracy demonstrations in Cairo, where protesters had seen our demonstrations here in London, and one of the slogans apparently in Cairo was, "We're going to have our own Hyde Park." In other words, we're going to have our own mass protest.
Democratic question, the question of whether the people have any power and any control over those who govern them, is back on the agenda everywhere. However many weapons you have, however many police you have, however many people's phones you bug and letters you open, you cannot, even dictators cannot, disregard public opinion.